Hello, you're about to watch a video on how to change the oil in a 2015 Passat 1.8 TSI. You should be able to apply these methods to many other vehicles. It's not that hard. This might seem stupid for some people, but for some people, they're like, I don't know how to change my oil, and I want to. Well, this is what this video is for. You can do it. I believe in you. You have the power within your mind and your hands to do great things. And within those great things is changing your own oil. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll answer them the best I can. Proceed at your own risk. I'm not a master mechanic. I'm not certified in anything. Just like working on my own vehicles. The proof is in the pudding. Car has 100,000 miles on it. We've owned it since 2015 new, and it's running fine. All right, let's get into it. First thing you're going to want to do is assemble all your tools. This is the part where if you don't have tools, you need to go buy them or borrow them, or if you forget your tools in your truck and give your truck to your wife so you can change the oil on her car, you leave them there, and then you have to go get some. So assemble your tools. Get your oil. You don't have to get that kind of oil, but that's what I use. Get your filter. You don't have to use that filter, but that's what I use. We'll go over that a little bit later. And then get your car prepped up. Drive your car up onto ramps, or jack it up and put it on jack stands. If you do ramps, make sure you block your rear wheels so you don't roll backwards. It also doesn't help, or doesn't hurt. Throw that emergency brake on, and then put it in gear, opposite of the way you don't want to go. So for example, I don't want it to roll backwards, so I have it in first gear. If you didn't want it to go forwards, you'd put it in reverse. Come down here, pop your hood, pop your engine, and there you go. Now we're ready to get our hands dirty. The next oil change you do, write down all the tools that you use and their sizes and put them someplace that you know where you'll see them again. That helps you out. For example, I know I need a T45 Torx bit to take the 3 bolts off the back of my belly pan. I need a 32 millimeter socket to take that guy off the oil canister. And then I need a 14 millimeter to take off my oil drain plug. Now, if you have a Passat like mine that's not the right size, I bought a magnetic oil drain plug a long time ago, and that happens to be what size it is. I also know I need 5.7 quarts of oil. And I wrote it on this sticker because this sticker tells you also to use only oil that expressly complies with Volkswagen standard 50200. We'll talk more about that later. By the way, if you don't know what a Torx bit is, they look like that. They are not a triple square. You'll hear that a lot when you're working on Volkswagens, or a 12 point. But this is a Torx. You'll need the T45 to take the 3 big bolt pans off, or belly pans off, and then you'll need this little T25 to take 8 screws off, assuming you still have them. So slide up underneath your car, and you need to take these guys off. These are the T25 Torx. There are 4 of them. Well, there are 4 of them, and there are 4 on each side. And then you got to come down here and take these off. There are 3. 1, 2, 3. Those are the T45. And then after you do that, you got to come up here and you push that tab in with your finger, and you push that tab in with your finger. Don't know if you can see it. And then the whole belly pan comes off, slides to the back of the car. There's your belly pan. Now, truth be told, these T45 bolts are supposed to stay in here. They're what I call captive bolts. So basically, this is the car, part of the car you'll see. They're supposed to stay in there like that. However, this vehicle has 100,000 miles on it, and my wife hit a dog, already dead, by the way. It was unavoidable. May he rest in peace. And broke this, which means I'm touching dog residue. Gross. But there's your belly pan. So now let's take a look underneath the car. There is your oil pan. That's the back of the vehicle. That way's the front. That way's the top. That's a tire. There is your drain plug pan. You can see it from there. You'll take that out, but now don't take it out yet. Please don't take it out yet. You need to make sure you have a vessel to catch your oil. And you also want to do one more step before that. To help facilitate the oil drain, you need to take off the oil fill cap. Now back here on the Passat, it's right there. It's easier. Grab this and pull it, take it off. Don't worry, it's supposed to come off that easy. It's got these little rubber bushing things. Take this cap off and put it somewhere so that you have to be visibly reminded that it's not there. And then I also like to pull my stick. You heard what I said. And leave it up there, and that allows air to come into the oil pan. This goes directly to the oil pan, and that helps the oil drain a little better. Okay, grab you a container that holds oil. Very important part. Make sure that the container that you're putting your old oil in is larger in capacity than how much oil your engine holds. If you grab a 4-quart jug and you drain 5.7 quarts into it, you're going to have a mess on your hands. And that's your fault, not mine. Take your 14 millimeter focus. Take your 14 millimeter wrench or socket, whatever you have. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Now I prefer 6 points, but again, I left my tools. So there you go. It's loose. It shouldn't be that tight. We got a little drippy drip. Let's see if I can do this with one hand and not make a mess. Now, you're changing your oil, okay? You're going to get a little messy, so don't worry about it. But if you do it smartly, you can do it without getting totally hosed. Like that. Now, there's my oil. It drains out into the pan. I do have a magnetic plug, so it just kind of hangs out up there for the time being. But let it drain and go up top, and let's get rid of the filter. A little side note, and why I use magnetic oil drain plugs. That tip is a magnet, and all that little fuzz right there, that's metal. Now, that's not anything you want to be concerned about. Again, this vehicle has 100,000 miles on it. However, if you were to pull this off and you saw like a chunk, you know, like a crumb, I don't know, something the size of a BB, that would be an issue. So you just wipe it clean, and there you go. By the time you do all that, you should be no longer draining. All oil plug should have a gasket on them of some kind, whether it's a flat washer or a crush washer like this. So make sure you change them out. If you didn't squeeze the absolute living crap out of it, or the person who did your oil last didn't, you might be able to flip it and reuse it, but they're really cheap. So I would just go buy a bunch. You can go online and figure out what they are. I have various gaskets for multiple vehicles, but that's the one I'm going to be using. New crush washer versus old, you can't really tell, but one of them is squished. The one on the left is used. The one on the right is not. That's why they call them a crush washer. Gives you a good seal, keeps you leak free. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way, but I'm weird. These crush washers have a seam on one side. This would be the seam side. I like to put the seam towards the plug and away from the pan. Next step is to replace your oil filter. Now on this engine, it's up top and it's a canister. Or I'm sorry, not a canister, it's a cartridge, which means that you have to take this guy off, and inside there is a removable and replaceable cartridge. Cartridge. And what I mean by that is this is a canister or a can filter. This is the whole filter. It threads onto your engine block and it threads off, and you throw the whole thing away. Whereas this guy, you take that guy off, you pull this out, you put it back in, you screw that guy back on, and you're good to go. Cartridge, canister. Additionally, if you do your own maintenance or plan on doing your own maintenance for an extended period of time, replace the stock plastic guy with an aluminum one or a metal one. This is an aftermarket one from ECS Tuning. This is the one that came in my car originally. You can see it's in great shape, and that's because I've only taken it off once. These have a tendency to strip because they're plastic over time, and the thread here, they strip and wear out because you're threading plastic into aluminum. So they take the same gasket and all that stuff, but I really, again, 100,000 miles, so it's lasted and it doesn't leak. I love it. Take your appropriately sized socket, put it on there. It's a 1/2-inch drive, so we'll get a 1/2-inch drive. Breaker bar. This also shouldn't be Magilla Gorilla tight. It might take 1 or 2 little guy turns here. That's a full turn. And eventually you should be able to turn it by hand. Come on. And don't just rip it straight out. There's oil in there. Unscrew it, let it get loose. Let her drip a little bit. There's a little dongly tail piece. Let it drip. More oil will go into the pan. And flip her up. Now your filter's out. Okay, now take your old cartridge out. And this is where you can get oil on things too. Set it aside. And take some brake cleaner and clean all this up. Clean it out. There is a O-ring right here. Make sure that you pull that O-ring out because your new filter should come with a new O-ring. It's very important to replace those. So I'm going to clean this filter housing and then I'll replace the filter. Now I'll remove that O-ring. I went ahead and sprayed it out. This is not the appropriate tool to remove an O-ring with or a gasket, but it's what I have. So I'm just going to be careful. I would much rather use like a hook, a little pin hook of some kind, but this will do it right here. There you go. That guy's out. Put the new guy in. Take this filter out. Lay it down here. Don't lay your filter down in the dirt. Kind of defeats the purpose. Now, I like to take a little bit of oil, rub it around here, so I know where there's some at. It's in this pan. You're going to want to do this for any oil filter, cartridge, anything like that. I got oil in the back of my hand. So take it, get you, it doesn't need to be sopping wet, but get you a good coat. Now, we take it and we very gently roll it down the threads, and you need to make sure you put it in the right groove. Like right now you're going to think, oh, there's the groove. It's not that groove, it's this one down here. And there you go. Now your gasket's replaced. Now it's time to put your cartridge in, cartridge filter. This is what I use. I always use them. Never had an issue. Use whatever you want. I don't care. Now that's in. Take this and come back up here. Make sure your little dongle-y thing goes down in the dongle receiver. And do this by hand. That way you make sure you're not cross-threading anything. Oh, there goes the washing machine. Okay, now it actually has a torque setting up here, but if you know torque settings, you know that's nothing. So I don't even know why that's a value there. Maybe it's just there to tell people don't put it on with an impact. So I also prefer a shorter socket. This is the only 6-point socket I have, and I like that 6-point socket more than I like a short 12-point. Oh, so it touched. So this is the resistance it's given me, and what I'm going to do is that. That's it. You're done. That's 18 foot-pounds. Click. Now that that's done, you could wait a little bit longer. I usually wait quite a while for my older drain. I take that time to climb under my vehicle and check out things. CV boots, things like that, my tires, my brakes, are there any weird oil drops or drips, anything of any concern, but I don't see any, and I think I'm ready to start putting things back on. So take your plug with a new washer, and we'll come back over here and we'll find the hole and we will thread it in. This is something else. You don't need to hone this to end. You don't need to. So that's finger tight right there. All right. Don't do it finger tight, but don't use a power tool. Don't sit here and think that you've got to flip your car over. Tightening it. I'm gonna go about right there. So that was what, about a quarter of a turn, maybe a little bit more. That's all you need. Don't go crazy. Now comes the good part, putting the oil back in. Get a funnel that best suits your needs. This is a little overkill, but I like it because of the smaller end, because it fits down perfectly into there. It just takes a while to fill it. Now comes the controversy part. If you ask 15 people what kind of oil to put in your vehicle, you're going to get 4,500 different answers. This is the brand that I use for this car. This is the first time that I've used this type of oil, Molygen. For those who are unfamiliar with oil, you have an oil brand, which would be Liqui-Moly. You have a weight, 5W40, which is what this vehicle calls for. And then in the 540 weight, you will have different varieties, conventional, full synthetic, a blend. Ford Motorcraft loves to do blends. A synthetic blend is what they call it. And then in the synthetics, you're going to have a whole different kind. I'm not saying you need this. Again, this is the first time I've ever used this kind. I saw it on sale and I bought it. That's why I bought it. What is important, and we'll get to this a little bit later, but remember back when I pointed here, all manufacturers have a set of requirements, and they usually label them with numbers. So here we need Volkswagen 50200. Well, guess what? Volkswagen 50200. This oil is good and recommended for this engine, as long as you're using the correct weight and the correct specification. And there's many things to go with. You can go with these AP numbers, SN, all this crap. But as long as you open your manual, use the oil it tells you to use. You can use any brand you want. Mobil 1, Castor Oil, Quaker State, Liqui Moly, Idemitsu, doesn't matter. So if you don't like that weird oil, guys, deal with it. Before you pour your oil in there, did you put the drain plug back in? You better check. Okay, again, that filter or the funnel is a little overkill, but that's what I have, and that's what I use. So now take your top off. Don't take your top off. Take your lid off and slowly pour. Now, this oil, I don't know if you can see what's going on here. Oh, there's a double top. This oil is green, and the main reason I kind of got interested in it is because it has UV, like a UV chemical in it. And if I develop an oil leak on the bottom of my engine, I should, in theory, be able to use a UV light and see where this oil is coming from. So that's one of the main reasons I got it. Again, the other reason is it was on sale, so I bought it. So we're going to sit here and let this pour out. Normally I would say stab a hole in the bottom of this container and let the air allow this to come out without glurging. But I'm going to reuse this container to drop oil off at my local facility. So a hole in it wouldn't do very good. Also, I'm using this whole thing because this is 5 quarts. So I don't have to worry about measuring out of this container. Come on. And there's 5 quarts. Now, this takes 5.7. You've got 5 quarts in it already with the big jug. This is 1.6 quarts. So 1.6 quarts. It's 1 liter, whatever. They come with little handy side views, so you can tell how much you're using. So what I'll do is I'll put half of this in, and then I'll look at the stick. Okay, oil's all in. Take this time to replace your dipstick, pull your filter out, make sure you don't have any drippy drops. And then you just basically redo everything you did just now. Put your cap back on. Take your engine cover, put that guy back on. Somewhere, nope, that's not it. Somewhere in there like that. Take a rag, wipe your engine down, keep your engine clean. It works better. And then you're going to take your belly pan, you're going to slide it back underneath. You're going to pop those in. You're going to put your back guys in, your 3 bolts, and then you're going to do your 1, 2, 3, 4, and your 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to back it off the ramps, and you're going to run your engine for a little bit, turn it off, and then you're going to check your level. Okay, belly pan's back on. You got all your bolts and nuts put in. Make sure there's no drops or drips. You got your engine cover on. You got your oil filter canister on tight. You got your dipstick in. You've got your cap on back here. We can check the oil. It's on an incline, but yeah, there's oil on it, so it means there's oil in it. So now get your keys, throw them on the floor. You come in here. Turn your car on, make sure it's not in gear and drive. I'll service that later. Make sure everything's still. Park and brake. Come back out. Nothing's shooting out the top. Nothing's dripping from below. You, my friend, have changed your oil. And for the most part, we're done. What you'll do next is you'll back it off the ramp. Might as well go ahead and shut our hood. Back it off the ramp. Let it run for a little bit. Turn it off. And let a rip, tater chip. Check the let's go. Oh, you will forget that you have your wheel chock and can't remember why. You won't go backwards. Oh. Now you will go backwards. And that's it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Again, make sure you got the right oil. Make sure you've got the right filter and the right tools. Take your time. You'll be fine. While we're at it, since I'm waiting for the car to warm up, this is what I mean. Nowhere in this book, this is the manual, does it say you have to use Mobil 1 or you have to use castor oil. Now, it says castor oil on the cap on the engine, but don't worry about that. That's just a marketing partnership thing. However, gasoline engines do need to meet these specifications. This is the recommendation. So if your oil, for at least this particular vehicle, meets the SAE 5W40 or 5W30, and meets the specification for gasoline engines of Volkswagen 50400, 50300, or 50200, you're fine. Use whatever you want to use. Doesn't matter what it is. Have a great day, and I hope all your oil changing dreams come true.